Cheers.
Welcome to From the Tap, conversations about water news, views, and brews from your friends at Kamstrup Water Metering. I'm your host, Joe Ball, and I'm the Vice President of Product Management and Business Development at Kamstrup. And I have my partner in crime here, Travis Smith, who's the Vice President of Sales. And we're gonna take you through some conversations about the North American water utility. And the thing that makes it fun for us is we're gonna sample some local beers, which are byproducts of your friendly neighborhood water utility. So why don't you grab your favorite pint glass, hit subscribe, and join us while we take it from the tap.
Hey Joe, what did you bring us today?
So I brought us a selection of Asheville, North Carolina beers. Today's topic is going to be the seasonality of the water business. So I brought us a few different sample beers that kind of cross the different seasons. Starting at the left there, we got Sierra Nevada's Summerfest. And then we have Oscar Blues. They're at Mas Lima, which is a Mexican salt lager. And then we have Green Man, which is a porter. And then we also have Hillman Beers, Hill and Oats, which is a stout, an oatmeal stout actually. And that gives us a little representation of, say, spring and summer beers and fall and winter beers here.
Glad to see you brought some of Asheville's finest for us. Every water utility draws its water from maybe multiple sources. Could be surface water, groundwater, or they may purchase water from a neighboring utility. And those supply levels and availability do change over seasons, such as usually in the winter, you might have a little less rainfall than the spring or the summertime, and that might charge a reservoir differently. They may be managing those water reservoirs to different levels, particularly in the western United States. They're actually seasonally governing them. Could be dependent on snowfall. So you really have some variability in what you have.
I think some of the beauty of some of the solutions that we have today is the ability to gather more data from your water system, so you can address things like the differences in supply from season to season. Almost like the differences in the pour, where mine maybe was just a little bit more and yours a little less.
You helped yourself to a little more beer in your reservoir, so to speak.
What do you think of this beer?
It's clean, crisp, just like cool municipal water.
Yes, I agree. I really enjoy this one. This is a great kind of summer-ish and springtime beer to drink. We should not be wasting water or beer.
He's just trying to find ways to have more intake, I'm telling you.
So to move us into the conversation about demand that goes hand in hand with supply, what I brought was a Mas Lima, which is a salt and lime Mexican lager that Oscar Blues does.
You know, when I think about demand in the water utility and its seasonality, and the obvious change is the outdoor use in the summertime compared to the wintertime. But that can be directly proportional to where you are from a geography standpoint, and further volatile based on rainfall and temperature in a utility. It's a tough response for a utility to be ready from that.
Because you get detailed data from all your customers that are out there with a smart water system, you get a lot more information about when the demand is in your system, not only by season, but also by time of day, month, things like that.
Those are great points. I also think that you have other demand factors, particularly in maybe a college town or a military town or someplace that is driven through tourism, and you have influx of residents and consumption in there, and that ripples through into the commercial industrial use. You know, when I grew up in Florida in the summertime, I thought we changed the license plate in summertime to the Michigan license plate instead of the Florida license plate due to all the snowbirds. But they really created a draw on that water supply and demand for those utilities as we go through.
Yeah. So what'd you think of this one?
Clean, crisp, enjoyable, obviously made with some good water there in Asheville.
It's good. I think this was an easy drinker. This one, I think these two beers that we did are kind of reflective of a spring or summertime, a little bit of lighter beer.
I didn't have a transition to the third one.
Like I said, I got this Green Man Porter that I think you'll really enjoy. So we'll go ahead and give a pour on this one, as maybe you could start us off on some of the different seasonal differences that we may see as we go from season to season.
Billing's always a concern. Affordability, I think, could be a concern for some communities and some residents. So when you get those spikes in demand and usage, obviously they wrinkle into a change in billing, and that can be problematic. It can lead to disputes and some questions on those things and become some challenges for the utilities. I think that technology is giving us some ways to handle that. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, I think with that data, the utility has the opportunity to really do a lot of different things. So you mentioned kind of fixed income or the ability to make those payments as you cross over to seasons. With data from an AMI system or a smart water system, you can go ahead and just normalize that billing for a fixed income customer. You know what you're going to collect, you have all that detail, and you can go ahead and look to past years' data to be able to set up an even payment plan.
Yeah, certainly that. And we even see separate water systems for irrigation with different rates. So there's ways to change those rates, and that impacts the billing. And now you're managing maybe 2 services at that residence.
In those communities or those areas of North America that have a lot more supply challenges, you're using recycled water, using reclaimed water to be able to do those outdoor activities and not stressing the drinking water system.
Yeah, and I think the other piece about the seasonality is we talked a little bit about snowbirds and maybe transient communities, is that move in, move out, and how do you manage that service shut off or stoppage and that restart and that billing action from those changes in either demand, usage, or occupancy, really.
Yeah. So with a smart water system or an AMI system, you get the ability to do things like a virtual shutoff, meaning that you could have someone move out and you don't necessarily have to roll a truck to shut off water. You could monitor when there's active use on an inactive account and be able to know what's going on at that particular residence before the new resident moves in. So I think the data that we get is just really improving the operations and the efficiency of the utility. What did you think of the porter?
I really enjoyed the porter. I always enjoyed the Green Manor in Asheville. Great opportunity to sample some of their finest works.
Excellent. Glad you enjoyed it.
What did you bring for us last, Joe?
So for the last one, there's a local brewery called Hillman Beer in Asheville, and I really enjoy their Hill & Oats, which is a oatmeal stout.
Yeah, I think today's average consumer is more and more data hungry. That's the world they live in, is capturing information, and they want it to be pushed towards them and also to be retrieved when they want to obtain a deeper set. But they want that notification of when something has gone awry. And it's interesting to see exactly. They want it in their pocket no matter where they are.
I think it's great. I think the customer portal aspect that's happening in the last few years in our industry is great, because everyone is looking at their phone to get their data, and they want it when they want it. So the ability to be able to go into an app or go into a website and be able to gather that data and look to see why my bill is high, or to be able to request service or something through an app is great, because people, nowadays with a busy life, you're not necessarily thinking about that stuff during just normal utility business hours.
I even saw a utility pair in some of their rate information so they could communicate with the consumers of what their billing would be and bring that through. And some utilities actually use that, and they'll make average monthly payments to cover, to ease that out and kind of curb that affordability piece. Interesting approach in technology, interesting way to chase that demand curve down. Have you seen that as well?
Agreed. Adding those rates to it, you could smooth that out across for those kind of fixed income customers. And then you also have in some of these customer portals the ability to set like a water budget. So they'll let you know how you're going against your budget. Hey, I only want to spend $40 a month, and it'll let you know as you're going through. And what I really think that helps with is it gives that instant feedback to the consumer, to that customer, on how their behavior affects their water bill.
And I think that brings back into the utilities though, because the volatility and the demand fluctuations also changes their revenue. And as they manage the billing activity, it smooths out their revenue projections and allows them to plan a little easier and come into their operational costs as well as their CapEx budgets with known activity versus variable activity.
Got it. So what did you think of the oatmeal stout there?
Joe, I wasn't ever a Hall & Oates fan, but I really enjoyed the Hill & Oates. Thanks for sharing that with us. Thanks for sharing some of the topics around seasonality of the water supply, demand, and operations. Cheers.
So thanks to everyone for joining us for this episode. If you have any additional topics that we haven't covered, any questions, add them to the comments, hit subscribe, and join Travis and I for our future episodes from the tap. Thanks again for watching.
You know we just make this up, don't you?
We call that MSU, making up.